Миколаївна, до слова запрошується речник Міністерства оборони.
Now the floor is given to Ministry of Defense spokesman on ATO-related issues, Colonel Andriy Lysenko. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. Now the information about the events in the ATO zone and about course of training of Ukrainian armed forces. Lugansk sector. The enemy opened fire 3 times in the morning, during the day and in the evening in the Vaidarsky, Popasnyansky and Stanично-Lugansk regions. And the militants used small arms, and each shelling lasted for about 15 minutes. The Donetsk sector in Svetlodarsk Bulge yesterday, it was a full lull, but enemy shelling continue in the other parts of front line of Donetsk sector. The enemy was active in the south, Gorlovka perimeter and Verkhnetorets. The militants closer to sunset started to open fire near Zaitseva and in the north of Gorlovka, and the shellings were longer and they were provocative. And in the region of the Donetsk airport, the enemy opened fire twice with the use of small arms, and in Avdiivka and its suburbs, the situation remains tense. There, the enemy violated ceasefire throughout the day, shelling our positions both with small arms and sporadically used mortars, and launched about 20 mines. During the last 24 hours in the Donetsk sector, there were 16 enemy shellings. The Mariupol sector, the situation remains the same. The majority of cases of ceasefire violations are in the south of this sector. In Chermalik, Shirokina part of front line, here the enemy actively opens fire at our positions using all the arsenal, small arms, except sniper rifles, and enemy sniper was recorded in the region of Dokuchaevsk. There the enemy used armored vehicles and launched 3 mines at the direction of our positions in Novogorodtsi. And the mortars were used by the enemy in Mariinsky region. The enemy launched more than 20 mines the positions of our defenders, Marinka and Krasnogorovka, and the same place. After sunset, they provoked our servicemen to return fire. They shelled for an hour our positions with the use of small arms. And during the last 24 hours in the Mariupol sector, there were 24 enemy shellings, including 3 with the use of mortars. During the last 24 hours, as a result of the military actions, no Ukrainian serviceman was killed, but 5 servicemen were wounded. Law enforcers detained the militants in the ATO zone. Servicemen of National Guard detained in Mariupol a man who violated public order. In course of check of his documents against the database, it was found out that the detained is the member of the militant group. He was brought to police department. At the same time, in Mariupol, a woman who is police officer detained a former convict who was the militant from Gorlovka. He joined the militants and spent there several months, and he was promoted to the head of the unit of occupation police. And the detained said that he was the militant because of his convictions, and he didn't get any money, and his wife left him. And also in the moment when he understand that he should leave was the moment when one of the residents of Gorlovka was detained and killed, and that's why he left the militants, was hiding, and then he went back home and was detained by police. So in Torets BU detained the former militant of DPR who was a spy and spied to the benefit of Russian special forces. Resident of Donetsk joined the militants in 2014. Then he went to Russia and got Russian citizenship through simplified procedure. He tried to join Russian army and then DPR, a militant group, but he failed because of his ill health. And this man got proposition from the Russian special services to spy against Ukraine for money. And perpetrator got nickname Lev and went to Toretsk with the task to collect information about deployment of ATO forces, and there he was detained by our law enforcers. In Kharkiv and Sumy, SBU and police detained two organizers of illegal production and sale of firearms. One of the detained, a citizen of Russia who lives in Kharkiv, he is the proponent of Russian world and a member of Russian organization that is called Siberia Cossack Forces. Law enforcers identified that the perpetrators organized full cycle of production of this weaponry, and they created details, spare parts, in order to transform start and gas pistols into revolvers and battle guns. So in course of search, they found that they found 14 units of firearms, RGD 5 grenade, and 500 cartridges. And one more participant of the program of SBU that is called They Wait For You Back Home, Return to Peaceful Life. In June 2014, resident of Pokrovsk region of Donetsk Oblast joined the militants of DPR. The man in civilian clothes was serving a checkpoint and checked the vehicles. Then he understood that he made a mistake and voluntarily left the militants. For several months he was hiding in the territory of Russian Federation. After that he returned to Ukraine and decided to address SBU because he didn't commit any heavy crimes. And now this man awaits positive decision of a court. SBU found 2 caches of ammunition in the region of ATO, and near Slavyansk, law enforcers confiscated from the cache hand anti-tank grenade launcher RPG-22 NATO and several thousand cartridges of different caliber, and also in Spirna Bakhmut region, operative officers found in a forest strip 2 F1 grenade was detonators. In Liman, police officers found ammunition and confiscated it from the local resident. 2 grenades F1, 1 grenade RGD, 7 cartridges of different caliber, and a single flare. In Chernigivshina, a serviceman of 1st Detached Tank Brigade had technical training with live fire exercises. Personnel rehearsed the destruction of the enemy in different types of battle that are close to the conditions on the battlefield. And in the imaginary battlefield, they also were supported by army aviation and aviation of the armed forces. In Frankivsk Oblast, they had training for the snipers of the National Guard. Servicemen were trained to fire from different positions, and in the course of break, they shared their experience with the counterparts, and firing was delivered both individually and in pairs. And detached squad of special forces that is called Vega of National Guard had firing training in conditions that are close to that on the battlefield. Using military equipment, special forces rehearsed the order of actions in course of clash with the subversive group, the destruction of subversive group, and evacuation of the wounded. Also, Tina, dog, was taking part in ATO operation, and she was taking part in this training, and she specializes in search of people and detention of the perpetrators. And also the training completed in Mykolaiv Oblast. This is the joint training of armed forces and National Guard. The aim is to verify the knowledge and the skills, and they patrolled the settlements, streets. They also checked vehicles to find illegal weapons, and also they deactivated the subversive group. And at Novotroitsk checkpoint to the direction of Donetsk, 16 trucks went through with humanitarian help, bringing 14 tons of food and medicines from International Committee of Red Cross. This is all. If you have questions, please ask. No questions, thank you and goodbye.